Yo, what up, people? What up, people? Welcome back. Welcome back to the channel. Hard hitting sports in your face. Dolphin Fan Voices podcast. We have a full panel here tonight. So thank you guys for everybody that's going to tune in. Please make sure you go ahead and share this on your Twitters. Share this on your Facebook page. And let me know what you guys think about the show. So everybody, I guess we can start from left to right, from right to left. Let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. Whoever wants to go first. Don't all speak at once.
All right, I'll go. Name's Ron Hyatt. I live in Northern California.
Uh-huh.
I've been a Dolphin fan since I was a little kid, which is in the 70s. And I don't plan on going anywhere. I plan on dying with Dolphins.
My name is Stefan. I live in Miami Gardens. I've been a Dolphins fan since 2009, I'd say. And yeah.
Well, my name is Orion, and I've been a Miami Dolphins fan all my life, and I'm happy to be talking football with you guys again.
Sounds good.
All right. So there's a lot to talk about within this hour. And I guess from the top of it, there's some more interesting concepts. I mean, some more interesting conversations down the line. Does everybody here have a mock draft so far? As far as what they want to see the Dolphins go ahead and take in this draft?
No, haven't looked into
Not-
that yet.
You don't have a mock draft?
I don't have one yet either.
All right.
I
do.
did it last year. I did it last year like 25 times. This year I haven't even touched it yet.
I've limited myself to two before the combine, and I'm gonna do two after the combine because if I like you just said, if I didn't limit myself, I would have about 30 as well. I've done two so far. Well, I guess here's a more interesting one. At pick 11. I would like to have everybody go ahead and give their opinions on what you think the Dolphins should be looking at pick 11 of the draft. I'm pretty sure everybody has an idea as far as what they would like to see at pick 11. So who wants to start first?
I think there's a lot of places that I think we could go with it.
Mhm.
There are areas on our team truly we can improve in every area. But I say the most inconsistent part of our team is our offensive line. But we already have the most important parts of the offensive line settled already. Center and our two tackle positions already decided, even though Juwan James is a bit of a question mark, but those positions are already decided. And it's a common belief that you don't spend a first round pick on a guard. So if you don't do that, then what do you do? Well, if you really, really like a quarterback, maybe you can take Baker Mayfield, unless you want to trade up and then give up a first round pick next year just to trade up and get one of the best quarterbacks in the draft. Or maybe you can draft a cornerback if you don't really trust the young cornerbacks that you have right now. Um, Maybe you can draft a defensive tackle so you can trade Ndamukong Suh in the future or cut him. There's a lot of places that I think those are the positions that we should look into. Quarterback, quarterback, guard, defensive tackle. Um, yeah, maybe linebacker too, because Kiko Alonso. I mean, Kiko Alonso produced a lot of tackles last season. I think he was top 10 in the NFL in tackles, but he isn't. He doesn't. Thing about Kiko Alonso is that he makes a lot of tackles, but he's not productive. He doesn't make a difference in the game. He's he really wasn't effective against the run. He really wasn't good in pass coverage, and he really didn't create turnovers. He was just someone who was there to, stop big gains from happening instead of actually making plays and helping our team. So when push comes to shove, I really wouldn't know where we would go because I think we would have to wait till free agency to see what happens because Jarvis Landry, we don't know what's going to happen with him. I think we'd have to wait to free agency to make an official decision on where we should go with that.
All right, whoever wants to step in next, go ahead and.
You can go, Ronald.
All right. I'm looking at free safety Derwin James from Florida State as my first option at number 11.
Mm-hmm.
But depending on how the board falls, there'd only be one quarterback that would slide that I'd be super tempted to grab at 11 would be Baker Mayfield. But I think the reason why I'm leaning towards Derwin first
Mhm.
or as a primary target is he fixes a bunch of stuff where the weak defense is weakest in the secondary and the back end. Linebackers, sure, a lot of people say let's have a linebacker that can cover. But is really a linebacker at 6 foot, 220 pounds or smaller like Roquan Smith really going to cover a 6'5", 260 Gronk?
TJ McDonald.
My instincts say no, and we saw what happened with the Dolphins with Gronk. He's too big of a mismatch, and our current safeties are both technically strong safeties. They're better around the box, good against the run, and they got lit a lot in pass coverage, especially when they had to go one-on-one. That's what I look at in the first round. I don't see taking a guard in the first round, not with several guys that would be definitely available in the second round, like a Georgia's Isaiah Wynn, who played left tackle for Georgia. But at the combine, they've already kicked him in at guard. And between him and Will Hernandez at UTEP, those two guys at guard, to me, aren't much of a drop-off from Quentin Nelson. And you're still getting Will Hernandez at the Senior Bowl literally dominated everybody they put in front of him. And they even, for shits and giggles, kicked him out at right tackle. And he shut all the edge guys down. So he showed that he has more than just straight on power. He can move laterally, deal with the guys that do change of direction. So I wouldn't see it like a need at getting a guard in the first round somewhere else. And I'm leaning towards Derwin James. And if he happens to fly off the board before we get there, then I would look at a guy like Joshua Jackson from Iowa at corner.
Well,
that's my opinion.
Well, for me, I'm going with the quarterback. Can we use another linebacker? Sure. Could we use another running back to go along with King and Drake? I would like to have a beefy type of running back, a running back that we can have, a complimentary type of guy next to King and Drake, almost like a thunder and lightning type of guy. But I think
it's already hooked up.
But I think it starts with the quarterback position. I'm going with Baker Mayfield. I think he's the type of guy. He's must see TV. I think if you're Stephen Ross and you want to sell tickets, you want to get butts in the seat. Yeah. I think you got to go with Baker Mayfield, and I also think he's the type of guy that can bring excitement. We know that Ryan Tannehill is coming off the 2 injuries. We know that the last time we seen Ryan Tannehill, he was improving. He got better with the deep ball. But do I want to go into next season putting all my trust in Ryan Tannehill knee? I don't really think so. So for me, it's Baker Mayfield.
Um, I think I made it very apparent who the guys that I was looking as far as in this draft. For shit, I've tweeted it and talked about it all over the place. So most of the people listening probably already know. The first guy I want is Baker Mayfield at that 11. But I have been watching that 6'3" guy out of Florida State, and that would not be a bad look. And Tremont Edmonds would be the third guy who I would like to see at that number 11 spot. If we cannot get either one of those guys um, in that spot at number 11, I think the best thing to do would be to trade back or make that attempt to trade back to get more picks, especially if we can slide back and get another third round pick, because that guy could probably be an additional offensive lineman or a tight end, which we need. We could use both of those guys. But if Mayfield is on the board, if Derwin James is on the board, or if Tremont Edmonds is on the board, I will take any one of those three guys.
Um,
I pray like hell we do not take Roquan Smith. I don't like that at all.
Me too. I agree. I'm praying that too, man. I just don't want Roquan.
guys, I don't necessarily agree with taking Baker Mayfield. I mean, that would be a good option, but when I think about this, we are subpar in too many areas to draft a quarterback so high. We're just subpar in too many areas. I feel like we're not in a position in which we can just. I understand that Ryan Tannehill come back from an ACL injury is certainly a risk, but I feel like taking a quarterback at number one is more of a luxury pick. That's more for a team who's already stacked with talent all over the place. That's not something that I think would benefit our team. I think we should really focus in other areas and take the risk with Ryan Tannehill.
I
I don't think taking Baker Mayfield is the right choice. We're just too subpar. We're
So
just
I
not
you
good
so
enough.
so
I can
so
I understand that sentiment, but I want everybody to take a look at what just happened in our season. We recover an onside kick, and as soon as the kick happens, we come right out of the onside kick, and what do? Immediately? We throw a pick. Does a
Two
better
times.
does a better quarterback beat Buffalo? Yes. Does a better quarterback beat the Buccaneers, where we threw three picks? Yes. We scored 6 points versus the New York Jets. Could we have beaten the New York Jets twice? Yes. That's 3 wins. New Orleans Saints, we did nothing.
What
Absolutely.
about the Raiders? We had that till the fourth.
Exactly. So with just better quarterback play, period, we could have won 10 games this year. Think about it. Our quarterback this year threw us out of games. He really did. He missed wide open receivers. Kenny Stills, Kenyon Drake wide open. Kenyon Drake open. Kenny Stills open for a touchdown. He's throwing the ball over Jarvis Landry's head in the end zone.
Several times. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's wide open on some of those too.
Landry could have had 12 touchdowns if it wasn't for Jay Cutler missing him, where you had to be Shaquille O'Neal to catch the goddamn ball, or be one of the people, the characters from Fantastic Four or some shit. So quarterback hurt us. It really did. And going into this NFL season, missing 19 games with Ryan Tannehill, I don't think that's something we can play with, unless the only opportunity that I would see that would offset us not getting a quarterback that's starter ready. I ain't talking about no bum. I ain't talking about going and get some guy we put on the practice squad. Like, we already have that guy. He's a scrub. You put him on the practice squad, you keep him. I'm talking about a guy who can step in if something happens to Ryan Tannehill and keep this offense going. A guy who can start. The only other option we would have is somebody like a Tyrod Taylor or an Alex Smith. But what would be the cap hit for those guys? That would be the only question.
My question is, we're saying that we need a quarterback, but do we necessarily have to take a quarterback with the 11th with the 11th pick? Could we get a quarterback in the second round, maybe the third round? We're not talking about bringing a quarterback in here that's trying to replace Ryan Tannehill. We're talking about getting a quarterback in here, a young quarterback that we can groom just in case something was to happen to Ryan Tannehill. I think around Dolphin Nation, we're thinking about bringing a quarterback in to challenge Ryan Tannehill. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of people that think that Ryan Tannehill may not be the guy. So that's why there's a lot of people that kind of feel like, okay, well, maybe we should take a quarterback with the 11th raw pick.
But is Baker Mayfield that great of a talent
Yes.
to take such a risk?
Yes.
Is he really that great of a talent?
Yes.
I mean,
He is.
okay,
I look at what he did at the Ohio State game, and that Ohio State game is turning out defensive backs that are not just good, goddamn Darrell Revis Island type guys. Denzel Ward coming out this year, even though he's not 6 foot, 6'2", and he shuts down dudes. Marshawn Lattimore was a straight up steal at 11. Our linebacker would have been shut down bombarding your year against Penn State, covering him out of the backfield. First play of preseason on the first special teams play, get a freak knee injury. And what Baker Mayfield did to the Ohio State guys, he carved them up. Doubts about his arm, his zip, his velocity, how he reads. If you watched any of the Senior Bowl practices, the dude was literally the best quarterback on the entire field for either team.
Well, let me ask you guys this: are you guys concerned about his character, his antics, the things that he do? When you look at a player like Jarvis Landry, who I know we're going to talk about a little later, but we know that Jarvis Landry is a fiery type of guy. But we know that Jarvis Landry could sometimes lose his cool. We know that Sue is a type of guy that he sometimes loses his cool. We seen some things out of Kiko Alonso. Are we kind of worried about? Are we looking at his the things that he do far as his character and bringing him into Miami? We know that Miami is kind of, we got the beaches, we got the hot women, we got the nightlife. Are you guys worried about bringing a guy like that to Miami?
I think I'm more worried about his physical talent because even though he's 6 feet, I mean, he was the best quarterback in college football. And I feel like going to the NFL, how many great 6 feet tall quarterbacks do you have? Russell Wilson, he has just this special ability to just be a magician in the pocket. Drew Brees, he's an excellent passer. Like, what is truly the probability that Baker Mayfield can be as good as either one of those guys? Because it's a rarity that you get a player that's as good as those guys at their height and weight. If you're asking him, if you think he has the potential to be either one of those guys, then that's lofty expectations to come up with. Because I can guarantee you those are the people he's being compared to. And I can also tell you that his talent is comparable to theirs. Well, his talent is a bit comparable to Drew Brees's, but no, those comparisons are too lofty. I don't really believe that he can be capable of being good as either one of those guys. And when I look at him, those are the only people I can compare him to. I do think he can be a good quarterback in the NFL because if you're completing 70% of your passes in college, I mean, you're bound to be pretty accurate on the NFL level. But I think his physical talent is what bothers me the most. And when it comes out to physical talent, that does matter in the NFL. It also takes into account durability too. The bigger and stronger you are, sometimes the more durable you can be. And when you're as small as he is, you are more vulnerable. So I don't know.
Josh Allen is one of the guys that the seems to have the NFL media fawning, and they're fawning over his size and his arm strength. And he's got that prototypical size, that big 6'5" type guy, with all the arm strength in the world. That guy has 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He has a completion ratio down in the 56th percentile, and he's playing soft teams. The best team he played all year was Boise State. Size doesn't To me, size doesn't mean anything. You can be you can be Jeff George, or I mean, there's been plenty of instances of quarterbacks that have come out with that prototypical size and been absolute bums. Brian Leaf is one of those guys. Jamarcus Russell was a tower of a guy, and that guy couldn't hit the beach from the shore. He would just completely inaccurate. So I just like the it that Baker Mayfield plays with. I love the 70% accuracy. Um, and I think he has underrated mobility as well. His escapability out of the pocket is pretty good as well. So I think that I think it's a good pick. But you know what though? I kind of hope that he slides a little bit. I almost hope that he slides to more like the end of the first round, and we have to trade back and take him at the end of the first round.
Ugh.
Um,
Uh,
so we can.
Yeah, but I don't see that
I don't
happening
see.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't see that happening.
He, he's
Arizona needs a
blowing
quarterback.
up the Senior Bowl. He's
he is.
going 20 plus yards down the field at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
Late because of a
Yes.
family issue. They handed him the playbook. He was out on the already calling the plays on the field the day one.
I'm trying to
Go from the air raid system offense, and he picked it up like literally.
I am trying to get his address so that I can send him a bong and lace it with a camera so that we can get a couple pictures on the internet.
I know what you're trying to do. You want another Reuben Foster. His shoulder is bad. Tunsil the fucking duct tape to a damn bong. I know what you're trying to do. Get some good defensive guy in the first round, slide back away. That ain't happening. The Broncos are probably going to steal the fucker at 5.
I hope that doesn't.
Hey guys, I have a
I hope it
question.
doesn't happen either.
What do you guys prefer?
Go ahead.
If we're at number 11 and Baker Mayfield slides to us, would you take that option, or would you take the option of a team coming out of nowhere and offering you their first round pick to trade down and to take Baker Mayfield? They're offering you their pick and a first round pick next year so they can take your spot to take Baker Mayfield. Which option would you guys prefer?
Ooh, that's a tough one, because this is how I look at it. I look at it like this: if Adam Gase goes out there after being a 6-10 team with a completely destroyed salary cap, little cap space, if he goes out, if we had more cap space, let's say we had the Cleveland Browns cap space, and Adam Gase was
We're just under 15 million, Isaiah.
yes. So if
Under 15 million without no cuts or trades.
let's say he had the Cleveland Brown cap space, he got 100 million cap. Then you can kind of understand. Okay, he's building. But when you look at our roster and you look at our cap space, to me it screams we need to win. And if he goes out there and has another 6-10 team, another 6-10 season, it might be time for another head coach. I don't know how this owner is thinking. That's how I would think if my product had a little cap space. I'm doing all these renovations on the stadium. I have all of these Pro Bowl caliber players, and we're 6-10. Might be time to go. So to me, if you walk out there with Ryan Tannehill, Fails, and Doherty, you're setting yourself up for failure. So I mean, like I said, unless we can get one of those other two guys that might not get you to the Super Bowl, but you can win games with those guys, whether it's Tyrod Taylor or Alex Smith. Both have.
Here's what I don't want to see.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you were still talking. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I was done.
What I don't want to see is small amount of salary cap space.
Mm-hmm.
Just had a horror the QB position.
Right.
The D line position for no sacks. Literally, Cam Wake was our only one man game back there. The agency, and we're like hinted at it, and which pissed me the hell off, is we want a complete team before we enter the draft. Out panic, a guy like Case Keenum, pay the dude $12 million for $10 million. The quarterback position with Case Keenum and fucking Ryan Tannehill. Now we have so much money like we did last year, $30 million quarterback position. We go in the draft and it actually falls the way we want. Sitting there and the team goes, we already are good at quarterback. We have Ryan. We got Case Keenum and we got David Fales already sitting on his last year availability on the practice squad. We don't need a quarterback, and they pass on that guy.
Yep.
They don't trade down. And they take some dude like Roquan Smith midway through the fucking season. Case Keenum's on IR. Ryan Tannehill is on IR. And fucking David Fells is running for his fucking life. And we only got 4 more games to go. And we're sitting there going, motherfucker. And he selects fucking Baker Mayfield like the Arizona Cardinals. And they're 11 and going to the playoffs and fighting for their division. They have Baker Mayfield, that rookie, leading their fucking team. And we're sitting there, just as always, like the Dolphins fans. What the fuck are we doing?
That's that Dolphin shit.
That's what I don't want to fuck. I will fucking do. I swear to God, I'll fuck.
Well, for me, I think if you're Adam Gates, that 11 pick may be the most important pick, maybe the most important decision that you have had to make since you've been a head coach. Because I agree with Isaiah. You cannot have another 5 and 10 or 6 and 10 type of season, or you might be out the door. So I think if you're Adam Gates, you better think long and hard about that 11 overall pick, because that may decide your future.
Because look at it this way. What happens if we do what I just said and Isaiah said he don't want to happen, and they still let Landry with his 9 touchdowns go? How bad does that even more look? You let the 9 touchdowns walk. Quarterback. You're sitting there at fucking 4 and 12, and you got a top 5 fucking draft pick. How are you going to explain to your fans that, quote unquote, I'm doing everything I can to win? Bullshit.
Guys, do you think we need a more daring front office? Like, do you think that we need to change the faces of our front office, like Mike Tannenbaum and Chris Greer? Because
Mike Tannenbaum, yes.
It seems like their approach really is part of what came down to our demise. I feel like if we did a better job of our personnel outside of quarterback, that we may have been better. I mean, of course, Adam Gase talked about how guys were really undisciplined and they didn't take their homework, home with them and study the things they needed to study in order to be prepared for the games coming up in the week. And we really did see that with all the penalties that we would get, 10, 11, 12 penalties in one game.
But
was
isn't
crazy.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but isn't that the head coach job
Well,
to make
that's
sure
part of it. That's part of the argument I'm trying to make. But Mike Tannenbaum and Chris Greer, it seems to me that they have a very safe approach. And maybe we just need a more daring general manager and more daring front office because we're really cap strapped. And I feel like if we bring in someone like a creative mind, maybe they can figure something out. Maybe they make a couple of trades. I don't know.
I can't put my finger
Here's
on
my
it.
take.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
You can't put your finger on it. Go ahead.
I can't put my.
Well, I was just gonna say.
But
I was just gonna say. I. What shows me that some of the problem isn't Greer draft. He hit a home run with the 5th round pick in defensive tackle, Devon Gottschall.
Yep.
Oklahoma State. Vincent Taylor.
Yep.
I thought with if the knee injury, we found our middle line cover in the nickel.
Yep.
The Charles Harris pick, but I can't be that jaded. I saw down the end of the stretch of the season, he's setting the edge in the run. He was stringing the running backs back into the teeth of the defense. And it's Kiko Alonso can't get off a block. Fucking tackles. So he hit with the 1st-rounder in Harris, the 2nd-rounder in Waquan McMillan. And the 3rd round, that was a fucking steal. Now. And you hit the 2 defensive tackles in 5th and 6th round. And the only picks that didn't seem like they hit right off the bat, Yada, who didn't even get a chance to even start. Isaiah Ford, who got hurt in OTAs. All those free agents he got undrafted, he hit on Chase Allen from South Illinois University. He hit with Eric Smith from Virginia at tackle. He hit with fucking Torrey McTire from UNLV. And Georgia, who's an Alabama kid that transferred. I mean, Chris Greer brought those guys in. And he brought Stringfellow. It's not his fault they cut him. That's Mike Tannenbaum. He's on the Jets. Praise Martin Aguique, who by the end of the season, I think he's there. We're talking towards fuck. We weren't getting any sizes on the IR. Branch is on IR. And spelled fucking Wake and Harris. Well, games there it was just Wake and Harris at defensive end. Terrence Fede at defensive tackle. So I don't think the problem isn't Greer. He wants to win. The one that's got to go is look at the contracts that he did with the Jets. 4 years later, and the Jets are still strapped with the salary cap. So I think the creative mind you're looking for has to be replacing Tannenbaum.
I was just. I don't know. Is it Tannenbaum that's doing the contracts?
Fired our lady that used. I don't remember her name. She used to run the contracts. And he fired her. He's doing the contracts himself.
Whoever is doing the contracts needs to be kicked square in the nuts. I don't know which one of those guys it is. I like to kick them square in the nuts. I mean, some of those contracts that we have are terrible. The Branch deal, who's never gotten more than 6 sacks, he's making 10 million. Fucking the Kiko Alonso deal, he can't cover anybody. And then, see, the fight I've had all week with people. I've had people telling me that we should draft another middle linebacker who I have no film as far as coverage. Pair him next to Kiko, put him next to Raekwon McMillan. That makes zero fucking sense. None. Zero. See, what I've seen from Dolphin fans, and this is what I keep seeing in these groups. These Dolphin fans know about 5 names. They know Nelson. They know Rick. The names, maybe a couple of the quarterbacks. It's like they're not watching film on what these guys are like that. Like that's not fixing the problem that we have. Not the biggest. Not when Jared Cook is running down the sideline in the first quarter, just burning the shit out of Kiko Alonso. That makes no sense. All right, so the elephant in the room, and I'm gonna let you guys talk about it because I got somebody here to do some work at my house. The Jarvis Landry contract, man. I saved it for last. We got 24 minutes to talk about it. What do you guys feel about the Jarvis Landry contract? He's asking for $14 million. Do you guys feel like that is asking too much money? What do you think?
I'm probably the wrong one to ask because I would do franchise for just $1 million. Me, $16 million is way too much for just one season. Give him, say, yourself $2 million and move on. He offers the 14.5. So you can meet somewhere around 13, 12.
Looking up, bro.
Franchise him at $16 million. Created with now the back 16. You know what I mean?
Ronald, you kind of breaking up, bro.
Can you hear me now?
No, you kind of breaking up.
What about now?
Yeah, you good.
Now, what I'm saying was the is just a little over 16 million. Around 14.5 with Devontae Adams and the Packers. The team offer if you can negotiate around 13 to 12.5, because the franchise tag is 16 million. Problem like the Redskins created for themselves with Cousins, thinks he's worth 16 million to 17 million. He's not worth 16, 18 million. And I'd take it because that's a big discount from 16 million. That's over what, 3.5 million? The franchise tag for 1 year. And I for 1 year paid down.
All right, what did I miss?
Talking.
Did everybody else mute themselves?
Say You hear me?
Hello?
Yeah, I hear you. It sounded like when I was looking at the icons, it looked like everybody muted
All I was saying
themselves.
was
Go ahead.
saying that it's just a little over his 14 and a half what Devontae Adams was at. And the team offered 11.
Right.
If you can sign half, take that because that's $3.5 million less than the franchise tag him at $16 million for 1 year. The Redskins have with Kirk Cousins, and the team think that he's worth $18 million, and he's not. Can anybody hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you.
But I can't hear him.
Yeah, I think he stepped away. Um, I think that $14 million for $14 to $16 million for Jarvis Landry, or franchise tag, or for a long-term contract is just way too much money. He is not a producer of a lot of touchdowns. Would I call Jarvis Landry a game changer? Um, no, but I really would say he is crucial to what we do on third downs, and he is a willing run blocker. And we already know the talents that he has as a receiver, but I just feel like he is not a top tier receiver to be making that kind of money. He's not the all around receiver we need to be paying that amount of money to. I feel like if he's been to us, I feel like $12 million is the highest we should go. I think that is the highest we should go. I'm not saying that's a reasonable price, but I'm just saying if push comes to shove, I feel like $12 million. That's a very fair price to hit him with. So if he's not going to be a guy who produces 10 to 12 touchdowns a season, uh, 1,400 yards, I mean, how could you really pay him that much money? Because his production isn't worth that. True, being desperate as a franchise leads you to doing things that you won't necessarily be proud of going down the future, but if the Dolphins are betting on Jarvis Landry becoming a better all-around wide receiver, then maybe that's the right choice for our team. But as of right now, I really can't see how we could pay him $14 million. I think that is an unreasonable price. I feel like they should just meet in the middle, $12 million, and he should be content with what he's getting because I don't know who else is going to pay that amount of money for him. I mean, I can see Buffalo. I mean, I think Buffalo might take a shot at him, which I can see happening because assuming they're going to move off of Tyrod Taylor and give Nathan Peterman a shot, then they're gonna need a reliable slot wide receiver who you can check the ball down to a lot. So I could see why they would try to jack up the prices for him. But I don't necessarily think of Jarvis Landry as a traitor and just start going to division rivals the first time you get into free agency. So hopefully we are able to retain Jarvis Landry. I honestly do think we will. I think we really will retain him. I think our management didn't trade him because they intended to keep him. So, yeah, I would love to have Jarvis Landry back, but not at $14 million. I'd rather allocate $14 million to our defense or our offensive line. If we can allocate $14 million on two guards in free agency, then maybe we can just let Jarvis Landry walk. Who knows?
Isaiah, you want to go, bro? Isaiah.
Hey, I don't think he's here.
Okay. Well, for me, I definitely think that he's worth 14 or whatever. I think he's the best player on the offensive side of the ball. You just look at his production, and I'm the type of guy. I'm really not. I'm a fan of the Miami Dolphins. I'm not a fan of the players because we know players come and players go, players get traded. But I definitely think that he's worth it. I think he's a big part of our team and what we do successfully on the offensive side of the ball. And I know what people say and what people think. Well, he's a slot receiver. He doesn't play on the outside. Well, let's look at some of the teams their biggest weapons is not their wide receiver. When you look at a team like the New England Patriots, we know that Tom Brady is the best player on that team. But who's the next best player on the team? Rob Gronkowski. He doesn't play wide receiver. I mean, oh no, he doesn't play wide receiver. He's a tight end, but he's their best player. When you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, Travis Casey, to me, he's the best player on their team. We know that Tyreek Hill is a force to be reckoned with, but to me, Travis Casey is the best player on the offensive side of the ball. When you think of the Arizona Cardinals, when you think of the Arizona Cardinals and their wide receivers, you're thinking about who? You're thinking about I'm sorry, his name escapes me right now, but you think about Larry
Larry
Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald.
You think
Right.
about Larry Fitzgerald exactly. So even when you look at a team like the Los Angeles Rams, you look at a guy in Todd Gurley who's their best offensive player. He led the team in touchdown with 19. He led the team in rushings and in receivers. So for me, you pay your best player. I don't care if your center is the best player on the offensive side of the ball. You pay your center what the center is worth. So to me, this whole notion of him being a slot receiver, he doesn't play the outside. He get covered by the linebackers. Well, if your slot receiver is getting covered by the linebackers and he's scoring 9 touchdowns and he's leading the team in receptions, I don't mind that. I think whatever it takes for us to win, this team has too many holes. This team doesn't have a reliable tight end. And I know we're hyped about Ken Drake, but he's never been a starter in college or in the pros. So I'm still kind of iffy. Can he start 16 games? Now you're talking about getting rid of Jarvis Landry. Now you got another hole because even though I like Kenny Stills, but I don't want to go into the next season with Kenny Stills being our best wide receiver. I think right now this team needs Jarvis Landry. I think he's a great security blanket for Ryan Tannehill, and
And to,
especially, I'm sorry, you guys were saying
and to
something.
touch on a little bit of that, we always get going down. With if he can't run the ball, what's his best weapon? If he's our best weapon, how's that going to help? Ball 40, 50 times because we're down.
Yeah.
Well, well, well. Listen, to me, Ryan Tannehill. Even though Ryan Tannehill improved with his deep ball, I think Ryan Tannehill is better in the intermediate passing game. We know that he got better in 2000, and I think it was 16, but a lot of that was because teams were stacking the box and they was afraid of Jay Ajayi. In my opinion, there's no team stacking the box coming into next year because I don't think we have a dynamic running game. So I think we're not going to be a team that's going to be throwing the balls 50, 60 yards. I just think that we need Jarvis Landry on this team.
Let me get into this discussion real quick. Let me get into this discussion real quick. First of all,
And can I make one more point, you guys?
go ahead.
To me, Jarvis Landry is the best wide receiver that we have drafted in the last 10 years. I'm so sick of the Brandon Marshalls, the Mike Wallace. Do you guys remember when this team got so desperate that we went out and we signed Chad Ochocinco? We went out, we signed Greg Jennings. We're talking about wide receivers that was past their prime. We finally got a wide receiver that we developed, and to me, he's a superstar in this league. Why would you get rid of him? Do I have confidence that the Miami Dolphins are going to draft another Jarvis Landry? I don't, because history tell us that we're not a good, we're not the Pittsburgh Steelers. We don't draft great wide receivers. So I'm just not confident if we get rid of Jarvis Landry that we're going to be able to replace him. And now we got another hole to fill, to me, in my opinion.
All right. So let me get into this conversation. And I think everybody knows exactly where I'm going to go with this. You were saying earlier that Travis Kelce and Rob Gronkowski, they're not receivers, but they're the best players on the Steelers, on the Patriots and the Kansas City Chiefs collectively, right?
Right.
But when you watch teams defend those guys, what do they defend them with? When you
linebackers, safety.
When you watched the Jacksonville Jaguars attempt to defend Rob Gronkowski, they had Jalen Ramsey on that man. The Buffalo Bills threw Tre'Davious White at Rob Gronkowski. They throw their
and the Dolphins threw fucking Kiko Alonso on him.
See, that's because we don't have a good sense and we don't know what the hell we're doing. But like these other teams, when you watch these other teams come out with their best receivers, you consistently see these teams throw some of their best at these players. You will never see Antonio Brown out there versus your third or fourth best option or a linebacker. You're going to see teams throw their best at these guys. I look at the respect level that Jarvis Landry gets, and it's less than Kenny Stills. To me, Kenny Stills is our best receiver right now.
Can I rebuttal? Can I say something about that?
No. Go ahead.
Well,
but he's not.
Well, for me, then the Los Angeles Rams, when it's time to play Todd Gurley, they shouldn't pay Todd Gurley because he was their leading wide receiver on their team. The guy had 19 touchdowns. He was their best player. The only thing that I'm saying is you pay your best player. If your center is the most important part of your offense, you cannot let your center go because he's the most important part. I don't care if it's your tight end. I don't care if it's the slot receiver. I don't care if it's the wide receiver. Listen, I think that you have to pay the guys that's going to help you win. And when you look at teams, you got guys like Larry Fitzgerald who plays the slot, but he's the best receiver on the Arizona Cardinals. How long Jimmy Graham was the best wide receiver on the New Orleans Saints? They never had a dynamic wide receiver. Drew Brees never played with a Hall of Fame wide receiver. The only he had Jimmy Graham. So to me, it's you pay your best guys. And I know we want to nitpick. Well, Jarvis Landry, the linebacker sticks him, the safety sticks him. But to me, he's giving you the production. That's all I'm saying. Just pay your guys. I'm not saying he's on Antonio Brown level. I'm not saying that but he's important to us. You understand what I'm saying, Isaiah?
I understand what you're saying. I'm just curious to see what would happen if Leonte Carew was getting 150 throws from us.
You have to be open to get those throws.
He got to get separation. I think people.
Jarvis Landry
and he don't.
Jarvis Landry does not get separation.
Yeah, he does. Look at the film.
He's hit almost immediately after every single catch. Now the thing
only with Jake back.
The
touchdown. Where I didn't get 14 times in the red zone, but breaking tackles, and he had a 15.5 to 15.9 yard average with Tannehill at quarterback. Garbage fucking Bears fucking short, inaccurate, big arm gunslinger supposedly, and his shit goes down to 0.9 yards in average. With the garbage.
I think if we let him go
to franchise tag him is
right.
That's $2 million The he's worth 17, 18 million in 2019. The 12 is knocking down because when it's available a year or two, finally the Giants quit playing hardball with OBJ. OBJ is going to take that's 16 million. That shit's going to million or more, break the bank, and then I'm available in a year or two because he only signed a 3-year deal. He set it at 13 million.
Who, OBJ? I mean, Odell Beckham deserves to be. Huh?
And Odell type of receiver in LSU that was.
You're breaking up on me.
We always talk about production. Landry played at LSU on the outside.
See,
I can barely hear Ronald.
Him at the draft. Rated him at the draft. The combine numbers. OBJ ran a sub for 4
right
yard. Jarvis didn't.
He ran a 4.7.
And so that's where he ran a 4.6. But that's where his separation for OBJ became more elite.
Right.
Some on the field and they're playing, Landry's open. You don't lead the record 22 and not be called a decent wide receiver. Slot receiver like Baldwin don't have those numbers. Adams doesn't have those numbers.
See, when you look at those quarterbacks,
the Dolphins are 8 and 12.
Those two guys right there, whether it's Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, they're going to go through their progressions better. Our quarterback struggles with going through his progression.
That's true.
He's constantly using that security blanket, whereas Russell Wilson would probably find that second or third option. Ryan Tannehill isn't that guy. He's not the same as a Russell Wilson or an Aaron Rodgers. So he's feeding. He continuously feeds. And I see a lot of times where he's throwing these balls into tight windows. Like I said, and Jarvis Landry is getting hit immediately after the catch. Now, where Jarvis Landry is elite at is in the open field. Once he catches the ball, he turns into a running back. He's the best by far to me. He's the best open field wide receiver.
But you didn't see that with Cutler at quarterback. You saw that with Tannehill.
Yeah. Not all the time now. There were that he made in the open field. He didn't have that big long run this year. Usually he
216.
Tannehill was elite.
Compared to what
compared to what we got.
Everyone was anointing him at the beginning.
I don't know about
he has less stats than Tannehill.
Who that? Cutler?
No.
Oh.
Why is widely known as being better, supposedly better in the media than Ryan Tannehill?
I think Derek Carr has a 30 TD season, though. That's probably what the nod comes from.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah. Derek Carr had a 32 TD, and I think that's where people kind of give him the bump. Then he came back with a 28-6 season, which was fantastic. That's a fantastic TD to interception ratio, 28-6.
What, Isaiah? Can I ask you a question, bro? Are you comparing Jarvis Landry to the other receivers like the Antonio Brown and DeAndre Hopkins and the Julio Jones, or are you going by the importance that he means to the team?
I look at I take everything into account. I'm looking at all the other receivers. When someone says, okay, this is our best receiver, I start looking at the best receivers on other teams. And I see the attention that they receive, and I see the attention that our guy receives.
Right.
When the New England Patriots played the Pittsburgh Steelers, Stephon Gilmore was on Antonio Brown the entire game. The entire game. When the New England Patriots played us, Jonathan Jones, the fourth cornerback on the roster, was on Jarvis Landry. It's a different level of respect.
What you're,
And these
you're
teams,
failing to recognize, though, in those games with the Patriots, he didn't just corner and a linebacker.
huh?
The entire safety position, they were handing him off. They ended 4 guys, while the other guys were outside on one-on-ones, and no one got open.
Well, people were open.
Brown drawing 2 linebackers corner. You see him drawing a safety in a corner.
See, the thing is,
Jarvis isn't being lined up in the X, even though he can play the X against the Jets, and he burnt the Jets when on the sideline. The hamstring, ankle,
the thing
whatever the fuck he was nursing.
the thing about Jarvis Landry that I think a lot of teams look at is that with Jarvis Landry, you worry about him getting the ball, and then you worry about him getting upfield. It's not so much he's not really a vertical threat. So you don't really worry about him getting behind you. More so, you worry about him catching the ball in an open field. Whereas with some of these other receivers who are the better receivers in football, you have to worry about every single part of their game. Antonio Brown, you have to worry about him in the open field. You give him a step, he'll take it to the house on you. He'll burn you vertically. Doesn't matter. And you don't. A portion of that game isn't with Jarvis. I just wish Jarvis Landry was, even if he was what he still is right now. I just wish he was fucking 6'3", 6'4", doing what he does.
My thing,
only 5'10" too.
My thing is about Antonio Brown. And Antonio Brown is an elite wide receiver in this league. But let's not act like Big Ben haven't made wide receivers look good. When Big Ben had Hines Ward was a good receiver. When Big Ben had Mike Wallace was a top 5 wide receiver in this league. That's why the Miami Dolphins went crazy and paid him all that money.
5 years, $60 million.
That's what, and then when he came with Ryan Tannehill, our average quarterback, I'm just calling it what it is, his production dropped, and Miami Dolphins released Mike Wallace. So let's not act.
Sanders was elite in Pittsburgh. He goes to Denver and he falls off the planet.
Exactly.
Mike Wallace was a one-trick pony to begin with.
But Mike Wallace came.
Being honest,
Mike Wallace came here and scored 10 touchdowns and did nothing but burn number 1 cornerbacks.
That may be true, but his best role isn't as a number 1 wide receiver. That's not his best role.
But that's what he
He
was.
is the number 1.
He was not. He wasn't during his best season with the Miami Dolphins. When he did score 10 touchdowns, did he even eclipse 1,000 yards that season?
No,
he didn't even eclipse 1,000 yards in that season. Okay. Not even close to top 10.
Half of his targets.
Hold on. Wait a minute though. In 2014, Mike Wallace didn't have 1,000 yards, right? But he had 10 touchdowns, and the Miami Dolphins were the 11th ranked scoring team in football. Okay. You take Mike Wallace off that team, the very next year, Jarvis Landry has 1,000 yards, and the Miami Dolphins are the 27th best scoring team in football.
Well, the thing was that it's the way it looks. It's the way teams prepare for you. When you lose a deep threat like like Mike Wallace, it shrinks the field for you. You
Exactly.
don't have as many options as you. That doesn't mean that Mike Wallace is this huge loss in terms of just the sheer thought of having a deep threat on the field. When the field is shrinked, and you know that the team you're playing, all that they're going to do is check downs and 8 to 9 yard, 7 yard routes. Really, no deep balls down the field. You know what to game plan for. But when there's no extra deep threat, that's gonna their ability to score in a multitude of ways. You're really going to be very one dimensional in the way you can score.
Exactly.
Like when Tannehill goes out and Jay Cutler comes in and boxes, and everybody says, "Well, Jay sucks because now he can't run." There's 9 minutes in the because the team isn't afraid of Jay Cutler lighting them up wide open because on tape, wide receivers single play, and Cutler's throwing it to the running back already double covered in the flat.
This man had Drake and Kenny Stills wide open, and he threw it to Landry double covered.
Play,
Well,
he had Kenny Stills and Jarvis Landry open on the post down to a 4 yard check down to Julius Thomas, who, by the way, dropped the fucking pass.
I think if we're gonna I think if we're gonna judge Jarvis Landry like that, you saying something, Isaiah?
No, go ahead.
I think if we're gonna judge Jarvis Landry by what you guys saying, let's please stop this talk with Gronk being the best tight end, because Gronk is not beating nobody 60 yards for a bomb on a touchdown. Who's the New England Patriots? They do a lot of dink and they do a lot of dunk. Travis Kelce is not for to burn nobody, but I guarantee you the Kansas City Chiefs is not for to get rid of Travis Kelce. Why? Because he's the biggest playmaker. The New England Patriots is not for to get rid of Rob Gronkowski because he's the second best player on the team. And all I'm saying is, Jarvis, to me, in my opinion, Jarvis Landry is more important than Ryan Tannehill. You seen Ryan Tannehill with a Mike Wallace. Let me say this. And I let you. Can I?
Go ahead.
Can I at least finish?
I'm sorry for being rude. I'm sorry.
Can I at least finish? We seen Ryan Tannehill with a Ted Ginn Jr. When Ryan Tannehill played with Ted Ginn Jr. looked completely terrible. Ted Ginn Jr. go play. Ted Ginn Jr. right now, in my opinion, is better than Kenny Stills. We seen Ryan Tannehill play with Mike Wallace. We seen Mike Wallace get so frustrated with Ryan Tannehill that it seemed like he almost wanted to hurt him. We seen Jarvis Landry play with Matt Moore, mediocre. We seen with Jarvis Landry play with Jake Cutler. He played with Jake Cutler, and it's probably his best year. We seen Jarvis Landry play with Ryan Tannehill. I can argue that you could put any quarterback with Jarvis Landry, and he's going to put up some productive number. I don't think if you can put any wide receivers with Ryan Tannehill and he's going to be productive. I think you got to build a team around Ryan Tannehill. I think you got to have an elite running back. I think you got to have a couple of receivers. We blame the offensive line every year. The offensive line is the biggest scapegoat. You got to have an offensive line. You got to have an offensive line for Ryan Tannehill. You don't need all that for Jarvis Landry. We done seen Jarvis Landry play with mediocre quarterbacks. Is I'm wrong?
Quarterback is a much more difficult position to play. There's a lot more variables that a quarterback has to rely upon.
But what about a Russell Wilson who doesn't have any great receivers? What about a Tom Brady?
Well, he had great talent to begin with during his career, and he's evolved into a great quarterback. He started off with great talent, and he's built on that. Ryan Tannehill didn't start off with great talent. That's not how he started off. He was a project quarterback coming into the NFL without a head coach who truly believed in him.
Well, let me ask you this.
Pretty average offensive talent.
Let me ask you this. What about the wide receivers? When they look at Rashard Matthews. Rashard Matthews went over there with Marcus Mariota. He becomes their number one wide receiver.
Because he has no other options.
Okay, but what about Mike Wallace? He went to Baltimore. To me, when Mike Wallace went to Baltimore, he showed that he can be an all-around wide receiver.
Baltimore doesn't prioritize offense. They only draft defensive guys.
Okay.
That's the only thing they focus on. One thing that bothered me about Baltimore when I saw them was that their lack of priority they put on putting players around Joe Flacco. I think that was a real problem for them. They really did not prioritize that. I mean, what real talent did they have at running back? What real talent did they have at wide receiver? Even though Mike Wallace was good for them, they really didn't prioritize building for the future around their quarterback. They really only focused on defense. I think their first three picks were defensive guys
And
in
I
the last
understand,
draft.
and I understand that. But you can say what you want about the Baltimore Ravens, but they're always in the playoff picture. They always stump a mud hole in the Miami Dolphins. Let's be completely honest. And I always felt like the Miami Dolphins always had more talent than the Baltimore Ravens on the offensive side of the ball. We all know that Baltimore Ravens, they have an elite defense, but there's no way we should be getting stumped by the Baltimore Ravens.
You're right.
You mean to tell me that Joe Flacco is that much better than Ryan Tannehill? I don't think so. In
I
my
don't think
personal,
I don't think he's better than him at all.
so
It's
so so the point I'm trying to make is you got to have a team around Ryan Tannehill. We seen Jarvis Landry play with four quarterbacks, three different coaches. When he was in Joe Philbin offense, he was doing. I mean, even when he played with Dan Campbell for those couple of weeks, he still was doing. He still was the best receiver on the team.
I can see where you're coming from. I could see the logic that you use, but you have to think of it this way. Jarvis Landry isn't an all-around talent. He is a 5'11", what is he, 200-pound wide receiver. He isn't a deep threat who will take the top off of your defense. He isn't that all-around valuable player who can do everything for you. He's a great route runner. He has
He's doing
really
everything
reliable
for you
hands.
now.
He's really good after the catch.
Tight
And
end, he's Elias Thomas. He's played running back because they only had Kenyon Drake.
Punt
For
return.
Parker and beat Buster Skrine on the fucking sideline on a 9 route. What more do you want him to do? There's no other receiver on the team that's even blocking with a third is doing.
okay, Ronald,
And the
do you
question
agree
you
with
have
him?
to
Do you agree
ask
with him?
is willing to franchise him at $16 million.
At the end of the day,
First offer, the high ball always in a half. And at the end of the day, you want to compare numbers is for 4,038 yards and 22 touchdowns. Ranks right there with Julio Jones, 78, 4,300 yards and 26 touchdowns. But there's 3 years out of his 7 years where Julio Jones has disappeared like he's in witness protection plan.
Let me tell you something. Can I say something about Julio Jones? Julio Jones had three. Ronald, can I say this about Julio Jones?
Go ahead.
Julio Jones had Julio Jones had
Jarvis missed row. Julio's not blind. You realize in game when we beat the shit had Thomas lined up as a wide receiver, and they lined us like he's blocking 100 times better than Sano.
You're breaking up bad. Let me chime in on this real quick. I do think that no matter who the quarterback is, with the way that our offense is designed and the way that it works, that Jarvis Landry or the slot receiver is going to get his touches. You saw the similar thing happen in New England with a Welker going to an Edelman. It just happens like that, I feel, because it is much easier to be accurate on those shorter routes. Now, the thing that separates Landry, like I said before, is once Landry is into the open field, he's a massive problem. One guy, an arm tackle, isn't going to bring him down. He's going to put his head down, and he's going to probably run over a few people or dance around a few people. He's an elite receiver in the open field. Now, what I would like to see, and I said this in a previous video that I made, I would like to see I would like if let's say they are going to give Jarvis Landry 14 million. I said this in a post. You make Jarvis Landry your Z, and you go and you draft another slot receiver. If that's what this team wants to do. Agent highballed 14.5 million. Whew. And the best example I can use for that is when Doug Baldwin was the slot receiver in Seattle. Once he got his contract, his slot went way down, and he became the number one receiver for the Seattle Seahawks. If that's something that Jarvis Landry can transition into, then you get rid of Parker and you sign yourself another slot receiver, and we already have our guy to take the top off the defense and steals, and we get ourselves a big seam splitting tight end. If that's
Guys, I'm sorry for interrupting you, Isaiah. You can continue.
Go ahead.
Um, I have something on Devontae Parker here. I think it's an interesting situation with him because I think he has great talent, but today we would probably get virtually nothing for him, if I'm honest.
I
Um,
agree.
and that's the real tragedy with it because he is so talented, but he just doesn't have the production to match it. It's like it's really weird with him. I don't really know what to say about him because Adam Gase seems to really believe in him,
Yeah.
but the injuries is like it just throws off all the possible rhythm the guy could build.
Yeah.
He has one good game, he suffers an injury in one game, he's out a couple of games, he comes back, and he's right back to the old Devontae Parker that we used to see.
He's like a tease,
And
right?
Yep.
yeah, and if I see him, suppose he gives us 60 receptions, 900 yards, 8 touchdowns, I'd be very satisfied with that. Knowing how much talent that we already have at the receiver position to begin with, I'd
Right.
be very satisfied with that. And I wouldn't mind throwing maybe a $7 million a year contract at him. But how do you know he's not going to come back in the next season and just go back to steal Devontae Parker again and continue to get hurt and continue to be inconsistent?
Let me get this straight. We're paying Stills 10 million, but you're only going to million to Landry, who's
Yeah.
every year is double the stats and blocking up your offense, and isn't getting game planned. He's just, as Gase says, game planning. The ball just finds Landry.
Yes, because he has the worst matchup on the field.
You know what it is?
How are
It's
you
like
gonna? How are you gonna ignore 400 catches, 22 touchdowns? Misses no games, and is the only wide receiver team that ends that can block.
to me what it is it's
Is
Isaiah.
is Antonio Brown out there sacrificing his body? Of 2 extra yards.
Hey guys,
Hopkins out there
oh,
sacrificing his body. Out there running a 9, stops and watches the play while the running back gets busted up. Wouldn't we love to have a wide receiver at 210 at a 4.2 40 yard dash, but receiver that's playing right now that has those numbers?
oh sh-
What you was gonna say, bro?
Antonio Brown isn't going to run the routes that Jarvis.
No, he's not. If you put Antonio Brown in our offense right now, Antonio Brown would be the Z. If Antonio Brown came into our offense with what he's doing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, there's no way. Hmm?
So who's going to play the X.
Kenny Stills.
We have Z as the Z has the Z. Parker's supposed to be the X.
Right.
Sure. Landry has
Um,
for you
Yeah, you're breaking up
able
again.
to use.
Yeah, I can barely hear him. Could you guys hear him?
Yeah, you're breaking up bad.
Feel so the other guy work against the other.
I think in the end of the day,
Right.
they're gonna get a deal done.
I think so too.
I
You know,
think
like I was saying,
I mean,
like I was saying earlier, he's just too important to our offense. It's kind of, and I think we as Dolphins fans, we look at what other players do, and we want to compare players to our players, and I don't necessarily think that that's fair, but I can understand it. It's kind of like that guy that has a Hyundai parked in his driveway, but he looking next door to a guy that's driving a Bentley. I mean, even though you got a Hyundai and the guy next door is driving a Bentley, you're not going to put gas. You're not going to put gas in your Hyundai. You're not going to go get your car tuned up. The fact of the matter is, even though your car is not a Bentley, it gets the kids back and forth to school. It gets you and the wife back and forth to work. So my Hyundai is important to me, even though it may not be a Bentley like the guy next door is on, but it's important to me and what I do. You understand? And I think that's what Jarvis Landry is. Jarvis Landry may not be the Julio Jones. He may not be the Antonio Browns, but he's important to the Miami Dolphins. My opinion, he's the most important player on the offensive side of the ball, and that's just how I feel about it. And I agree with you, Isaiah. I think they will get a deal done with him.
yeah.
um,
All right, guys. The time is now 9:22. We went way over the time to stop this episode. Um, I guess shit. But we have another week here before we go to the Pro Bowl. Um, let's have another episode next week, right before the Super Bowl. We can talk more Dolphin draft. We can talk more free agent stuff. What is today? Today's Friday. Next Friday, 8:00. Good for everybody.
It's good for me.
Okay. All right, man. So we're out of here. We're gonna wrap this one up. Been about an hour and a half. We'll talk to you guys next time. We out of here.
All right.